If you don't know about this movie is a sequel to The Shining, and it stars Ian McGregor as a grown-up Danny Torrance, and he's to protect this girl named Abra, who has the same shining power as him. And he has to protect her from this cult called the True Knot, led by Rose Hat, played by Rebecca Ferguson. This movie received mostly positive reviews, so I had really high hopes for the movie. And when I first watched it, I was like a little disappointed. But after I've had some time to like process the movie and think about it looking back, I think it's actually a really good movie. And it kind of has that feel that feels like a classic, even though it just came out, which is actually really impressive. I'll get into my negatives first though, because why not? I think my biggest issue is how this girl, Abra, is really overpowered. Once we got back to like the Overlook Hotel, it felt like she was doing all these crazy things with really little effort. And it's hard to like feel for a character who can just do so many things so easily without struggling. In the scene where Danny is chasing her with an axe around the Overlook Hotel, she's just kind of like jogging around with like a really blank expression. She doesn't look scared at all. And that took away a lot because it just seemed so easy for her. She's also able to do like some things with her mind that kind of overpowers people in the True Knot. And I just like didn't buy it. It was just not very believable. When it comes to being a horror movie, I didn't find the movie too scary. There's one scene that's actually really scary in the movie where Jacob Tremblay gets sacrificed. That was by far the best scene of the movie. Jacob Tremblay does an amazing job, and it's just really disturbing. Besides that, I didn't find the rest of the movie to be that scary. The movie was more focused on storytelling than horror, which isn't a bad thing. I do still think the movie could have been scarier though. The opening scene has like a really good idea, a really like unique scare tactic that could have worked really well, but it felt kind of rushed and it wasn't like as tense as it could have been, so there wasn't that much suspense. It's still a good scene, but I think it could have been better. However, there are still a lot of really good things about this movie that pretty much like get rid of all the other negatives. I watched the director's cut and it was 3 hours long, but it doesn't feel that long. It's never boring. Like I said, there's a lot of focus on storytelling, what happened in the movie, and I never found myself waiting for the movie to be over. I was never like checking the time and seeing how much was left, which I do for a lot of movies, even pretty enjoyable movies. So that's really impressive, especially considering it's 3 hours long. There are some also really cool effects in the movie. I really like the astral projection scene in the movie. It has some really great visuals, and like the special effects are really good. And it looked unique. You don't see a scene like that in many other movies. And that's another thing I like about the movie. It's just like really unique. It has unique scare tactics. You can tell they actually put a lot of effort into making the movie unique. They're actually really trying to make a good movie. They're not just like trying to cash in on The Shining. Rebecca Ferguson does a really good job. I think she was a little over the top in one scene, but I still think she was well cast. She was like a pretty threatening presence. But when like placed next to Abra, she really wasn't. So, like I said, that took away a lot. But she does a really good job. Ewan McGregor's really good too. When I first watched the movie, I thought it was just like okay. I was thinking maybe like a B or a B minus. Looking back at the movie, I think it's better than I thought at first. I don't know what it is. There's just something about this movie that made me like it a lot more than I did when I first watched it. So I think I'm going to give Doctor Sleep, a B plus. It's a good movie. If you don't feel it at first, maybe just like wait a little after you watch it. Maybe you'll appreciate it more later like I did, or maybe you just won't like it that much. But I would recommend it. It's a good movie.